Get behind me. 3 words. That's all it took. She was 16 years old, bleeding from her palms, gasping for air. Her knees had just hit the gravel. Behind her, footsteps were getting closer. A man she'd never met. A man who knew everything about her. A man who'd been hunting her for 3 weeks. 5 bikers stood between her and the monster. "Please," she choked out. "He won't stop. He knows where I live. He knows where I sleep." The gray-bearded man didn't hesitate. He stepped forward, blocking her from view. "Get behind me." And that's when everything changed. Before we continue, I want to ask you something. Subscribe to my channel and follow this story to the very end. And in the comments, tell me what city are you watching from. It amazes me how far these stories travel, and I want to know how far this one reaches. Now let me take you back to where it all began. Her name was Emma Dawson, 16 years old, junior at Saguaro High School in Tucson, Arizona. Good grades? Quiet? The kind of girl who sat in the back of the classroom and didn't raise her hand unless she was absolutely sure of the answer. She walked home alone most days because her mother Diana worked double shifts at the hospital. Single mom. 2 jobs. Bills that never stopped coming. Emma understood. She never complained. She just kept her head down and kept moving forward. That was the thing about Emma. She was a survivor before she even knew she needed to be. The first time she noticed the silver SUV, she didn't think anything of it. It was parked across the street from her school. Same spot, same time. 3 days in a row. She told herself it was a coincidence. Maybe someone's parent. Maybe a contractor working nearby. Maybe nothing at all. But on the 4th day, the SUV was still there, and this time the driver was looking right at her. Emma walked faster. She didn't look back. She told herself she was being paranoid. She told herself she was overreacting. She told herself all the things girls are taught to tell themselves when something feels wrong, but they can't prove it. That night her phone buzzed. Unknown number. No name. Just a message. "You looked beautiful in the yellow dress today." Emma's heart stopped. She was wearing a yellow dress. She blocked the number immediately. Deleted the message. Tried to forget about it. But her hands were shaking when she set the phone down, and she couldn't explain why she suddenly felt like she needed to check that all the doors were locked. The next day, a new number. "I like your hair down better. You should wear it that way more often." She blocked it. Another number appeared. "Don't be scared. I just want to talk." She blocked that one, too. Then an email from an account she didn't recognize. Then a comment on a photo she'd posted 2 years ago. Then a direct message on an app she barely used anymore. He wasn't just watching her. He was studying her. Emma sat on her bed that night, scrolling through weeks of messages from different numbers, different accounts, all saying the same thing. All watching. All knowing things he shouldn't know. She called her mother. Diana answered on the 3rd ring, exhausted from a 12-hour shift. "Mom, something's wrong." "What happened? Are you okay? There's Someone's been sending me messages. He knows what I'm wearing. He knows where I go. I think someone's following me." There was a pause. Then Diana sighed. "Emma, honey, you spend too much time on that phone. These internet people, they're just weirdos trying to get attention. Block them and move on." "I did block them. They keep coming back with new numbers." "Then turn off your phone for a few days. You're probably overreacting." Emma closed her eyes. Overreacting. That word again. "Mom, I'm scared." "Sweetheart, I know high school is stressful, but you can't let every little thing get to you. I have to be back at work in 6 hours. Try to get some sleep, okay? We'll talk about it this weekend." The line went dead. Emma sat there in the dark, phone in her hand, feeling more alone than she'd ever felt in her life. The next morning, she went to the school counselor. Mrs. Patterson was a nice woman. Soft voice, concerned eyes. She listened carefully while Emma explained everything: the SUV, the messages, the feeling of being watched. When Emma finished, Mrs. Patterson nodded sympathetically. "That does sound concerning. Have you told your mother? She thinks I'm overreacting." "Well, I'm sure she's just worried about you in her own way. Here's what I suggest: document everything. Screenshot the messages. Write down the times you see the vehicle. And if it continues, we can discuss next steps." That's it. Unfortunately, without more concrete evidence, there's not much the school can do. But I want you to know, my door is always open. Emma left the office feeling like she was going insane. Everyone kept telling her she was overreacting. Maybe she was. Maybe she was imagining things. Maybe she was so desperate for something interesting to happen in her life that she was creating problems where none existed. That's what she told herself. Until the night she woke up at 2 a.m. to use the bathroom. She walked past her window, and she saw him, standing in the backyard, perfectly still, hands at his sides, face turned up toward her room, just standing there, staring. Emma screamed. She screamed so loud her throat burned. She stumbled backward, crashed into her dresser, sent everything scattering to the floor. Diana came running. "Emma. Emma, what happened? He's outside. There's someone outside my window." Diana looked out the window. The backyard was empty. "There's no one there, honey." "He was there. I saw him. He was standing right there, looking at me." Diana's face was pale. "Are you sure maybe it was a shadow or—" "It wasn't a shadow. It was a man. He was watching me." Diana called the police. 2 officers showed up 20 minutes later. They searched the backyard. They found footprints in the dirt. Faint, but there. Someone had been standing in that exact spot. One of the officers, a young guy with tired eyes, came back inside. "We found some impressions in the soil," he said. "But without cameras, without a clear description, there's not much we can do. Did you see his face?" Emma shook her head. "It was dark. I saw him standing there." "Do you know anyone who might want to scare you, ex-boyfriend? Someone from school?" "No, I don't know who he is." The officer wrote something in his notebook. "Here's the thing, Miss Dawson. Unless he makes direct threats or physical contact, there's not much we can pursue. I know that's frustrating, but my advice is to stay vigilant, vary your routine, and call us immediately if you see him again." Emma stared at him. "So I just wait until he does something worse?" The officer looked uncomfortable. "I understand how you feel, but the law requires us to have something concrete before we can act. I'm sorry." They left. Diana locked all the doors and windows. She checked them twice. Then she sat down on Emma's bed and held her daughter's hand. "I'm sorry I didn't believe you." Emma couldn't respond. She was too tired, too scared, too numb. "Maybe we should get a security system," Diana said. "I'll look into it this week. And maybe you could start getting rides from friends instead of walking." "My friends don't have cars, Mom." "Then I'll figure something out. I'll adjust my schedule." But they both knew that wasn't possible. Diana was barely keeping them afloat as it was. There was no room for adjustment. That night, Emma didn't sleep. She sat in her bed with the lights on, watching the window, waiting for him to come back. He didn't. But the messages did. 3 days later, a new number. "I know you saw me. I wanted you to see me. I wanted you to know I'm real." Emma's hands trembled as she read it. "Stop ignoring me. We're meant to be together. You just don't see it yet." She blocked the number. Another appeared. "Your mom works nights. You're alone a lot. I don't like that. Someone should be there to protect you." Emma threw her phone across the room. She couldn't breathe. Her chest felt tight. Her vision was blurring. She didn't know his name. She didn't know what he looked like. She didn't know how he'd found her or why he'd chosen her. But she knew one thing with absolute certainty. He wasn't going to stop. The next week was a nightmare. Emma stopped sleeping. She stopped eating normally. She started varying her routes to school, but somehow the silver SUV always found her. It would appear at the end of her street, in the parking lot of the grocery store, driving slowly past the library where she studied after school. He was everywhere and nowhere. She couldn't prove anything. She couldn't catch him doing anything illegal. He never approached her, never spoke to her face to face. He just existed. In her peripheral vision, in her notifications, in the shadow outside her window that she could never quite be sure was real. Her grades dropped. She stopped going out with friends. She started having panic attacks in public places. Her mother noticed, but she was so exhausted from working doubles that she didn't know what to do. She suggested therapy. Emma agreed, but the earliest appointment was 3 weeks away. 3 weeks. A lot can happen in 3 weeks. The message that changed everything came on a Tuesday afternoon. Emma was walking home from school. Same route she'd taken 100 times before. The sun was low. The streets were empty. Her phone buzzed. She almost didn't look. She almost just kept walking. But something made her check. Unknown number. A photo. Her. Taken that morning. Walking to school. From an angle that could only have been captured from a vehicle parked across the street. Below the photo, a message. We're going to talk soon. Just you and me. I've been patient long enough. Emma started running. She didn't know where she was going. She just knew she had to move. Her backpack slammed against her spine. Her lungs burned. Her eyes blurred with tears. Behind her, she heard it. The engine. She looked back. The silver SUV was there, crawling down the street behind her, moving at exactly her pace. Emma ran faster. The SUV sped up. She turned down an alley, cut through a parking lot, squeezed through a gap in a fence. But when she emerged on the other side, the SUV was there, waiting, like he knew exactly where she was going. Emma's heart was pounding so hard she thought it might burst. She couldn't think. She couldn't plan. She just ran. The streets gave way to dirt roads. The city thinned. She was on the outskirts now, in the industrial area, where the mechanics and warehouses clustered together like forgotten buildings. And then she saw them. Motorcycles. 5 of them lined up outside a building with a sign she couldn't read. Men and women in leather jackets, standing around talking, laughing. Emma didn't think. She just ran toward them. Her legs gave out 10 feet from the first bike. She hit the ground hard. Gravel tore into her palms. Dust filled her mouth. And then she looked up. A man stood over her. Tall. Gray in his beard. Eyes that had seen things. Boots planted firm on the ground. Behind him 4 others. All watching her. "Please," Emma gasped. "He's right behind me. He's been following me for weeks. Please help me." The man didn't move for a long moment. Then he looked past her. At the edge of the parking lot, the silver SUV had stopped. The driver was getting out. Mid-30s. Clean cut, average height, brown hair. Nothing about him that stood out. Except the way he was looking at Emma. Like she belonged to him. The man in front of Emma spoke. His voice was low. Steady. The kind of voice that didn't need to be loud to be heard. "Get behind me." One of the women stepped forward, dark hair, sharp eyes, and gently helped Emma to her feet. "Come on, sweetheart. Let's get you inside." Emma couldn't stop shaking. He's right there. I see him, the woman said calmly. He's not going to touch you, I promise. The other bikers moved forward. Not running, not aggressive, just present, forming a line between Emma and the man who'd been hunting her. The stalker stopped about 30 feet away. He didn't look scared. He didn't look nervous. He smiled. "There's been a misunderstanding," he called out. His voice was pleasant, reasonable. "I'm just trying to help her. She's been acting erratic lately. I think she might be having some kind of episode." The gray-bearded man stepped forward. "That's so. Yes, I'm a family friend. Her mother asked me to keep an eye on her. You know how teenage girls can be. Dramatic, emotional." Emma's voice cracked. "That's a lie. I don't know him. I've never seen him before 3 weeks ago." The stalker's smile didn't waver. "See what I mean? She's confused." The gray-bearded man didn't move. "Funny thing," he said. "I've been around a long time, seen a lot of liars, and you've got the look. Excuse me, the look. The one that says you believe your own story. But here's the thing." He took another step forward. "That girl just ran half a mile with terror in her eyes. Her hands are bleeding. Her voice is shaking. And you're standing there calm as a Sunday morning talking about her like she's property." The stalker's smile flickered. "I don't know what she's told you, but she hasn't told me anything yet. But I've got eyes, and my eyes are telling me you should leave. You can't keep her from me." The words hung in the air. Something shifted in the gray-bearded man's expression. "What did you just say?" The stalker seemed to realize his mistake. His smile returned, but it was strained now. "I mean, she needs help. Professional help. And these kinds of places," he gestured at the bar, the motorcycles. "This isn't the right environment for a young girl. Leave. I'm trying to. You've got about 10 seconds to get back in that vehicle and drive away. After that, this conversation takes a different turn." The stalker looked at the line of bikers, at their faces, at their hands, which weren't quite at their sides anymore. Then he looked at Emma. "This isn't over," he said quietly, and he turned, walked back to his SUV, and drove away. Emma watched until the taillights disappeared. Then her legs gave out again. The woman caught her before she hit the ground. "It's okay," she said softly. "You're safe, now. He's gone." Emma couldn't speak. She couldn't breathe. She just sobbed into this stranger's shoulder while the desert night closed in around them. The gray-bearded man walked over. He crouched down so he was at her level. "My name's Marcus," he said. "What's yours?" "Emma," she managed between sobs. "Emma Dawson." "All right, Emma Dawson. Here's what's going to happen. You're going to come inside. You're going to sit down. You're going to have something warm to drink, and then you're going to tell me everything." Emma looked at him through tear-blurred eyes. "Why, you don't know me." Marcus was quiet for a moment. "No," he said. "But I know what it looks like when someone needs help and nobody's listening." He stood up and offered her his hand. "So let's change that." Emma took his hand, and for the first time in 3 weeks, she felt something other than fear. She felt like maybe, just maybe she wasn't alone anymore. Inside, they sat her down in the back room. The woman who'd helped her, Elena, her name was Elena, cleaned the cuts on her palms with a first aid kit. "These aren't deep," Elena said. "They'll heal." Emma nodded numbly. Marcus pulled up a chair across from her. The others filtered in 4 more people, all different ages, all with the same look in their eyes, like they'd seen enough of the world to recognize real trouble when it walked through their door. "All right, Emma," Marcus said. Start from the beginning. Don't leave anything out. So she did. She told them about the SUV, the messages, the figure outside her window, the police report that went nowhere, the counselor who told her to document things, her mother who didn't believe her until she did, but still couldn't do anything about it. She told them about the feeling of being watched constantly, the way her phone had become a weapon he used against her, the way she'd stopped sleeping, stopped eating, stopped feeling safe in her own home. She told them everything. When she finished, the room was silent. Elena's jaw was tight. One of the younger guys, mid-20s with tattoos up his arms, looked like he wanted to punch something. An older man with scars on his knuckles was shaking his head slowly. Marcus hadn't moved. "What's his name?" he asked. "I don't know. I've never met him. He just appeared in my life." "What does he look like? Average, brown hair, maybe mid-30s, nothing that stands out. That's the worst part. He looks normal. He looks like anyone." Marcus nodded slowly. "The dangerous ones usually do." He looked at the others. "Rosa, you still have contacts at Tucson PD." A woman in her 40s, short gray streaked hair, nodded. "A few. Reach out. See if anyone's flagged any similar cases recently." "On it. Dante." The young guy with the tattoos looked up. "Can you trace those messages?" Dante cracked his knuckles. "I can try. Depends on how careful he's been." "Victor." The scarred man raised his eyebrows. "Take a drive. See if that SUV is anywhere in the area. Don't engage. Just observe." Victor stood without a word and headed for the door. Marcus turned back to Emma. "You're not going home tonight." Emma's eyes widened. "But my mom, call her. Tell her you're safe. Tell her you're staying with friends. But you're not going back to that house until we know more about who this guy is and what he's capable of." "I can't just—" "Yes, you can." Marcus's voice was firm, but not unkind. 3 weeks this man has been hunting you. 3 weeks you've been asking for help and getting nothing. That changes tonight. Emma stared at him. "Why are you doing this?" "You don't owe me anything," but Marcus was quiet for a long moment. "No," he said finally. "But someone owed my daughter something once, and nobody stepped up. I made a promise after that. No more standing by. Not when it matters." Emma didn't know what to say, so she just nodded. And for the first time in 3 weeks, when she closed her eyes, she didn't see his face. She saw theirs. These strangers who had looked at her and seen something worth protecting. She didn't know what tomorrow would bring. She didn't know if they could actually help her, or if this was all just a temporary reprieve before the nightmare started again. But she knew one thing. She wasn't running anymore. At least not alone. Outside the desert night was still and silent. But somewhere in that darkness, a silver SUV was circling. And inside it, a man was planning his next move. Because men like him didn't give up. They didn't let go. They only got more dangerous when someone tried to take what they believed was theirs. And in his mind, Emma Dawson had always been his. Emma woke up to voices. For a moment, she forgot where she was. Then it all came back. The running. The gravel. The strangers who'd pulled her inside when no one else would. She sat up slowly. Her palms throbbed where Elena had bandaged them. Her body ached from the fall. But she was alive. She was safe. At least for now. Elena appeared in the doorway. "Morning. You hungry?" Emma nodded, even though her stomach felt like a fist. "Come on. There's coffee." In the main room, the others were already gathered. Marcus stood at a table covered with papers. Dante was hunched over a laptop, fingers flying across keys. Victor sat in the corner, arms crossed, face unreadable. Rosa was on her phone speaking in low tones. They all looked up when Emma walked in. "How'd you sleep?" Marcus asked. "I didn't really." "Yeah, figured." He pulled out a chair. "Sit down. We need to talk." Emma sat. Elena handed her a cup of coffee. It was strong and bitter, but she drank it anyway. "We found him," Marcus said. Emma's heart stopped. "What?" Dante traced the rental on that SUV. Company out of Phoenix. The name on the agreement is Kyle Mercer, 36 years old, software consultant from Sacramento. Emma stared at him. "Kyle Mercer. That's his name. That's the name he used." Marcus slid a printout across the table. A driver's license photo. Brown hair. Average face. The same man who'd been standing at the edge of the parking lot last night. Emma's hands trembled. "That's him." "You sure?" "I'm sure. That's him." Marcus nodded. "Rosa's been digging. Tell her what you found." Rosa set down her phone. Her expression was grim. "Kyle Mercer has been investigated twice before. Once in Colorado 3 years ago. Once in New Mexico 18 months ago. Both times for stalking. Both times the cases were dropped." Emma felt the room tilt. "Dropped. Why?" "The victims stopped cooperating. One of them moved to a different state. The other just disappeared from the system. No forwarding address. No follow-up." "He's done this before," Emma whispered. "He's done this before," Rosa confirmed. "And he's gotten away with it every time." Dante spoke up without looking away from his screen. "I found something else. One of the previous victims, the one from Colorado, she wrote a blog post about it, buried in some old forum. Listen to this." He read aloud. "He made me feel like I was losing my mind. He never did anything technically illegal. He just existed in my space. Everywhere I went, he was there, watching, waiting. The police couldn't help. My friends thought I was paranoid. My family thought I was overreacting. By the end, I wasn't sure if I was the crazy one or he was. I moved 3 states away just to sleep again." Dante looked up. "Sound familiar?" Emma couldn't speak. Her throat was too tight. "This is his pattern," Marcus said. "He finds a target. He studies her. He makes her feel insane. And when the system fails her, which it always does, he moves in." "Moves in for what?" Emma asked, even though she wasn't sure she wanted to know. Marcus didn't answer. He didn't have to. "So what do we do?" Emma's voice cracked. "If the police couldn't stop him before, what makes you think they can stop him now? They couldn't stop him before because they didn't have enough evidence," Rosa said. "And the victims gave up before the cases could build momentum." "But you're not giving up," Marcus added. "And neither are we." Victor, who hadn't spoken all morning, finally uncrossed his arms. "I drove around last night after he left. Found his motel. Dusty Rose Inn about 4 miles east. He checked in 2 weeks ago under a fake name, David Miller." Emma's stomach dropped. 2 weeks ago. That's when the messages started getting worse. "He's been planning this," Marcus said. "He came here specifically for you. This isn't random. This is a hunt." The word hung in the air like smoke. Hunt. That's exactly what it felt like. Like she was prey and he was a predator who'd been stalking her through the tall grass, waiting for the perfect moment to strike. "I need to call my mom," Emma said suddenly. "She doesn't know where I am. She's probably freaking out." "You called her last night," Elena reminded her. "I told her I was staying with a friend. She's going to want more than that." Marcus nodded. "Call her, but don't tell her where you are. Not yet." "Why not?" "Because if he's been watching you for 3 weeks, he might be watching her too. If she knows where you are, and he gets to her." Emma understood. The thought made her sick, but she understood. She stepped outside to make the call. Diana answered on the first ring. Emma. Oh, thank God. Are you okay? Where are you? I'm safe, Mom. I'm with friends. What friends, Emma? I've been up all night. After everything that's happened, you just disappear without telling me where you're going. I'm sorry. I needed to get away. Get away from what, Emma? You're scaring me. Emma closed her eyes. Mom, do you remember the man who was following me? The one who was outside my window? Of course I remember. He found me yesterday. He chased me. I ran and I found some people who helped me. Silence on the other end. Mom, what people? Emma, who are these people? They're good people, Mom. They believe me. They're trying to help. Help how, Emma? You need to come home. We need to go to the police again. The police didn't help before. They'll help now. I'll make them help. Mom, Emma's voice broke. They found out who he is. He's done this before, to other girls, in other states. The police never stopped him. The victims gave up. He just keeps doing it. Diana was quiet for a long moment. Who are these people you're with? They're called the Desert Wolves. They're bikers, Mom. Bikers? Diana's voice pitched higher. Emma, you're staying with a motorcycle gang. They're not a gang. They're just people. They helped me when no one else would. I want you to come home. Right now. I can't. Not yet. He knows where we live. He knows your work schedule. He knows everything about us. If I come home, he'll be waiting. Then we'll go somewhere else. We'll stay with your aunt in Phoenix. He followed me across the city in 20 minutes, Mom. You think he won't follow us to Phoenix? Diana started crying. Emma had never heard her mother cry like that. Not when Dad left. Not when they lost the house. Not ever. I don't know what to do, Diana sobbed. I don't know how to protect you. You don't have to, Emma said quietly. Not alone. These people, they know what they're doing. They're going to help me build a case that the police can't ignore. How do you know you can trust them? Emma thought about Marcus. About Elena. About the way they'd looked at her last night, not with pity, not with doubt, but with belief. Because they didn't have to help me, she said. They could have turned me away. They didn't. Diana sniffled. I want to meet them. You will. Soon. I promise. Emma, I'm so sorry I didn't believe you sooner. It's okay, Mom. It's not okay. I should have listened. I should have... Mom, it's okay. I love you. I love you too, baby. Please be careful. I will. Emma hung up and stood there for a moment, letting the desert wind dry the tears on her cheeks. When she went back inside, Marcus was waiting. How'd she take it? About as well as you'd expect. Marcus nodded. She'll come around. Mothers always do when they realize someone's actually fighting for their kid. Dante waved them over. I've got something. They gathered around his laptop. I pulled footage from a gas station across from his motel. Look at this. The screen showed grainy security footage. Kyle Mercer standing at a pump filling up his SUV. Nothing unusual. But then Dante zoomed in on the car window. In the reflection, barely visible, was a phone screen. Dante enhanced the image. Photos. Dozens of them. All of Emma. Walking to school. Sitting in class through a window. Standing in her backyard. Sleeping in her bed. That last one hit Emma like a punch to the stomach. He was in my room, she whispered. He was in my room while I was sleeping. We don't know that for sure, Elena said quickly. He could have taken it through the window. Either way, Marcus said grimly, this isn't just stalking anymore. This is obsession. Rosa's phone buzzed. She answered, listened, and her face went pale. That was my contact at Tucson PD. They ran Kyle Mercer through the system. He's clean. No arrests, no warrants, nothing. How is that possible? Emma demanded. You said he was investigated twice. Investigated, not arrested. There's a difference. Rosa shook her head. The system failed those girls, and it's going to fail you too, unless we give them something they can't ignore. Then let's give them something, Marcus said. Victor stood up. I'll go back to the motel, see if he's still there. Take Tommy with you, Marcus said. Don't engage, just observe and document. Victor nodded and headed for the door. A younger guy Emma hadn't noticed before followed him out. Dante, keep digging, Marcus continued. I want to know everything about Kyle Mercer, where he went to school, where he works, who his friends are, everything. On it. Rosa, keep working your contacts. If there's anyone at Tucson PD who'll take this seriously, I want to know about it. I know a detective, Carmen Ortiz. She's good. She'll listen. Set up a meeting. Rosa nodded and stepped away to make the call. Marcus turned to Emma. How are you holding up? Emma laughed bitterly. I found out a man who's been stalking me has photos of me sleeping. How do you think I'm holding up? Fair enough. Marcus sat down across from her. I'm going to ask you something, and I need you to be honest with me. Okay. Have you ever seen Kyle Mercer before 3 weeks ago, anywhere even in passing? Emma thought hard. No, never. He's never been a customer somewhere you worked, a friend of a friend, someone you passed on the street. I've never seen him before in my life. Why? Marcus leaned back. Because men like him don't pick targets at random. They fixate. They convince themselves there's a connection. Something made him choose you. But I didn't do anything. You didn't have to. You were probably just kind to someone once, smiled at the wrong person, existed in the wrong place at the wrong time. Marcus's voice was heavy. It's never about the victim. It's always about them, about what they think they're owed. Emma felt sick. So it's not my fault, but there's also nothing I could have done to prevent it. That's exactly right. That's terrifying. Yeah, Marcus said quietly. It is. 2 hours later, Victor and Tommy came back. They didn't look happy. He's gone, Victor said. Checked out of the motel this morning. Paid cash. Left no forwarding address. Emma's heart sank. He ran, or he moved, Marcus said. Men like him don't run. They reposition. What does that mean? It means he knows we're onto him, so he's going somewhere we can't find him, somewhere he can watch without being watched. Tommy tossed a USB drive on the table. Got something, though. Pulled this from a traffic cam near the motel. Dante plugged it in. The footage showed Kyle's SUV leaving the motel parking lot at 6:47 a.m., but instead of heading toward the highway toward escape, it turned east, toward Emma's neighborhood. He's not running, Dante said slowly. He's getting closer. Emma couldn't breathe. Rosa came back into the room. I just got off the phone with Detective Ortiz. She's willing to meet with us tomorrow morning. Tomorrow might be too late, Marcus said, still staring at the screen. It's the best I could do. Marcus was quiet for a long moment. Then he turned to Emma. Call your mother again. Tell her to pack a bag. She's not staying in that house tonight. Where is she supposed to go? I know a place. Safe house. We've used it before. A safe house? Who are you people? Marcus almost smiled. We're the people who do what the system won't. Emma called her mother. Diana argued. She protested. She demanded explanations. But when Emma told her about the photos, about the footage of Kyle driving toward their neighborhood, she stopped arguing. Where do I go? Diana asked quietly. Emma gave her the address Marcus provided. I'll meet you there tonight, Emma promised. Emma, is this really happening? Yeah, Mom. It's really happening. An hour later, Emma's phone buzzed. Unknown number. Her blood went cold. She showed it to Marcus without opening it. "Go ahead," he said. "Let's see what he has to say." Emma opened the message. "You think those bikers can protect you? They can't be there forever, but I can." Attached was a photo. The bar. The motorcycles out front, taken from across the street. Time-stamped 30 minutes ago. "He's here," Emma whispered. Everyone moved at once. Victor and Tommy went for the back door. Marcus went for the front. Dante started pulling up exterior camera feeds. "There," Dante said, pointing at the screen. Across the street, parked in the shadow of an abandoned warehouse, was the silver SUV, and through the windshield, barely visible in the darkness, was the outline of a man. Watching. Waiting. Marcus grabbed his jacket. "Stay inside," he told Emma. "Don't move until I come back." He walked out the front door. Emma watched through the window as Marcus crossed the street, heading straight for the SUV. The moment he stepped off the curb, the engine roared to life. Kyle didn't wait. He peeled out tires, screaming, disappearing into the night before Marcus could get within 20 feet. Marcus stood in the middle of the empty street, fists clenched, watching the taillights fade. When he came back inside, his jaw was tight. "He's playing with us." "What do we do?" Elena asked. Marcus looked at Emma. "We stop playing defense. Starting tonight, we hunt him back." Emma's phone buzzed again. Another message. "Tell your new friends I'll be waiting. I have all the time in the world. Do they—" Emma showed Marcus the message. His expression didn't change, but something in his eyes went cold. "He thinks this is a game," Marcus said quietly. "Let's show him how wrong he is." But as the night deepened and the desert wind howled outside, Emma couldn't shake the feeling that Kyle Mercer was always one step ahead. And the next move he made might be the one none of them saw coming. The next morning came too fast. Emma hadn't slept. Every time she closed her eyes, she saw that photo. The bar, the motorcycles, time-stamped 30 minutes ago. He'd been right there watching them while they were watching for him. Marcus found her sitting in the back room, staring at her phone. "You need to eat something." "I'm not hungry." "I didn't ask if you were hungry. I said you need to eat." He set a plate in front of her. Toast and eggs. "Can't fight on an empty stomach." Emma looked up at him. "Is that what we're doing? Fighting?" "That's what we've been doing since the moment you ran into this parking lot." Marcus sat down across from her. "The only difference is now we're fighting back." Rosa appeared in the doorway. "Detective Ortiz is ready for us. She can meet in an hour." Marcus nodded. "Let's go." Emma stood up, leaving the food untouched. "I'm coming with you." "That's the idea." They took Marcus's truck. Emma sat in the back with Elena while Rosa rode shotgun. Nobody talked much. The tension in the vehicle was thick enough to choke on. The police station was exactly what Emma expected. Fluorescent lights, tired officers, the smell of stale coffee, and desperation. Detective Carmen Ortiz met them in a small conference room. She was in her late 40s with sharp eyes and a no-nonsense expression that reminded Emma of her mother. "Mr. Reyes," Ortiz said, shaking Marcus's hand. "Rosa says you've got something that might actually stick this time." "We do." They spread everything on the table. The traffic cam footage, the rental agreement, Kyle's photo, the previous investigations from Colorado and New Mexico, the blog post from his first victim, screenshots of every message he'd sent Emma, the gas station footage showing him staring at photos of her on his phone. Ortiz reviewed each piece carefully. "This is solid," she said finally. "This is really solid." "Solid enough for a warrant?" Rosa asked. Solid enough for a conversation with the DA. Ortiz looked at Emma. You're the victim. Yes, ma'am. And you're willing to testify press charges, see this through to the end. Emma's voice didn't waver. Yes. Ortiz nodded slowly. Most girls your age give up. The system wears them down. He wears them down. You sure you're ready for that fight? I've been fighting for 3 weeks. I'm ready to stop losing. Something like respect flickered across Ortiz's face. All right. I'll push for a warrant today. We'll search his motel room. If we find what I think we'll find, we can arrest him by tonight. For the first time in days, Emma felt something like hope. Thank you, she whispered. Don't thank me yet. Ortiz gathered the documents. I've seen cases like this fall apart before. He's smart. He's careful. He knows how to work the system. But maybe this time we've got him. Maybe. That word echoed in Emma's head all the way back to the bar. Maybe wasn't good enough. Maybe wasn't safe. Maybe was just another way of saying the system might fail her again. But it was all she had. 3 hours later, Detective Ortiz called. Emma was sitting with Elena when Rosa's phone rang. Everyone stopped what they were doing. Rosa answered, listened, and her face went pale. What? Rosa said. How is that possible? More listening. Rosa closed her eyes. Understood. Keep me posted. She hung up. What happened? Marcus demanded. They executed the warrant, went to his motel room. Rosa's voice was flat. He was gone. Emma's stomach dropped. Gone. Cleared out. No clothes, no laptop, no phone, nothing. Like he was never there. How did he know? Marcus's jaw tightened. How the hell did he know we were coming? Ortiz doesn't know. She's running an internal check to see if there's a leak, but... Rosa shook her head. He's a ghost. He knew the moment we started building a case against him. Emma felt the walls closing in. So that's it. He just gets away again. No, Marcus said firmly. He doesn't get away. This just means we have to find him ourselves. And then what? Emma's voice cracked. What happens when you find him? You can't arrest him. You can't... She couldn't finish the sentence. Marcus was quiet for a moment. We don't have to arrest him, he said finally. We just have to make sure the police can't ignore him anymore. Before Emma could ask what that meant, her phone rang. Mom. Emma answered immediately. Mom, are you okay? Did you get to the safe house? Diana's voice was shaking. Emma, I got a call today, from a man. Emma's blood went cold. What man? He said you were in danger, that the people you're with are criminals, that they've brainwashed you. Diana was crying now. He said I need to come get you right now or something terrible is going to happen. Emma's hand trembled. Mom, that was him. That was Kyle. How do you know? How do you know it wasn't someone trying to help? Because he knows exactly what to say to scare you. That's what he does. He manipulates people. He makes them doubt everything. Emma, I don't know what to believe anymore. Believe me, Mom. Please, just believe me. There was a long silence. I'm coming to get you tomorrow, Diana said finally. I don't care what anyone says. You're my daughter, and I'm taking you home. Mom, no. If you come here, and he's watching... The line went dead. Emma stared at her phone. He called my mother, she said, her voice hollow. He's trying to turn her against me. He's trying to isolate me. Elena put a hand on her shoulder. That's what manipulators do. They cut you off from everyone who cares about you. It's working. Emma's eyes burned. She's scared. She doesn't know who to trust. She wants to take me home, and if she does, I'll be alone again. You won't be alone, Marcus said. We'll talk to her. We'll show her the police report. She'll understand. But Emma shook her head. You don't know my mom. Once she's made up her mind. She didn't finish. She didn't have to. That night, things got worse. Dante had been monitoring social media since they'd identified Kyle. He'd set up alerts for any mention of Emma's accounts or Kyle's aliases. Around 9 o'clock, his laptop pinged. Guys, his voice was tight. You need to see this. Everyone gathered around. Someone had created a fake profile using Emma's name and photo. It had posted a dozen times in the last hour. Emma read the posts and felt her soul leave her body. I made everything up for attention. The bikers are holding me hostage. My family is trying to save me, but I'm too brainwashed to listen. Don't believe anything I say. I'm mentally unstable and need help. The posts were getting comments. People from her school, friends she'd known for years. Some believed it. Some were confused. Some were calling her names she'd never forget. That's not me, Emma whispered. I didn't write any of that. We know, Marcus said. But they don't. Dante was already trying to report the profile. It'll take time to get it taken down, maybe days. He's destroying my reputation. Emma's voice broke. He's making everyone think I'm crazy. Even if he never touches me, he's taking everything from me. Elena pulled her into a hug, but Emma couldn't stop shaking. I can't do this anymore, she sobbed. I can't keep running. I can't keep hiding. Nothing works. He's everywhere. He's in my phone. He's in my life. He's in my mother's head. He's everywhere, and I can't escape him. Marcus stepped outside. Victor followed him. This is bad, Victor said quietly. I know. If her mom shows up tomorrow and takes her and this guy is still out there. I know, Marcus said again, sharper this time. They stood in silence for a moment. What are we going to do? Victor asked. Marcus didn't answer right away. He stared out at the dark desert, the distant glow of the city, the empty highway cutting through the night. We're going to find him, Marcus said finally, before he finds her again. Inside, Emma sat alone in the corner. She pulled out her phone, thought about texting her mom, thought about apologizing for something she didn't even do. Then her phone buzzed. Another message. Unknown number. Her heart stopped. She almost didn't open it, almost threw the phone across the room, almost screamed. But she had to know. She opened the message. A photo. Her house, taken from outside. Lights on inside. Her mom's car in the driveway. Below it, a caption. I know where she is. I know where you are. I know where everyone you love is. You can't hide from me, Emma. You never could. Emma's hands went numb. She stood up, stumbled to the door, found Marcus still standing outside. He sent me this. Marcus took the phone, read it once, twice. His face didn't move, but something in his eyes changed, went cold, went hard. He made a mistake, Marcus said quietly. What do you mean? Marcus zoomed in on the photo. Look at the angle. He took this from across the street, probably from his car. Look at the reflection in the window. Emma leaned closer. In the glass of her living room window, barely visible, was the faint outline of a vehicle. And behind it, just barely visible in the background, a street sign. I can enhance that, Dante said from behind them. He took the phone inside, ran the image through a filter, sharpened the contrast. The reflection became clearer. Silver SUV, same one. And the street sign. Maple and 4th, Dante said. That's 3 blocks from Emma's house. Marcus was already grabbing his jacket. How long ago was this taken? Victor asked. Dante checked the timestamp. 23 minutes. He could still be there, Rosa said. Then let's go. Marcus turned to the others. Everybody moves. Now. Emma grabbed his arm. What are you going to do? Marcus looked at her. For a moment, his expression softened. We're going to end this. One way or another. Elena stayed behind with Emma. The rest of the crew mounted their bikes. Engines roared to life. Headlights cut through the dark. And as they disappeared down the highway, Emma stood at the window watching them go. She thought about her mom in that house. Alone. Unaware that a predator was parked 3 blocks away. She thought about the weeks of fear, the messages, the sleepless nights, the feeling of being watched constantly. And she thought about the fact that for the first time since this nightmare started, someone was actually fighting back. But deep down, a part of her wondered. What if it wasn't enough? What if Kyle was always one step ahead? What if tonight was the night everything fell apart? Her phone buzzed one last time. She looked down. Tell your friends I'll be waiting. Emma's breath caught. Because suddenly she realized something that made her blood run ice cold. Kyle wasn't running. Kyle wasn't hiding. He wanted them to come. This was a trap. Emma ran for the door. Elena, they're riding into a trap. He wanted us to find him. Elena was already reaching for her phone. I'll warn Marcus. But before she could dial, the phone rang. It was Diana. Elena answered. Mrs. Dawson! Diana's voice was frantic. Where's Emma? Is she there? Please, I need to talk to her right now. She's right here. What's wrong? There's someone outside my house. I can see a car parked down the street. It's been there for an hour. Emma was right. She was right about everything, and I didn't believe her, and now there's someone outside and I don't know what to do. Emma grabbed the phone. Mom, listen to me. Lock the doors, all of them. Don't turn off any lights. Don't answer the door for anyone except the police. I already called them. They said they'd send someone. Good, that's good. Mom, some friends of mine are on their way. They're going to make sure you're safe. Emma, I'm scared. I know, Mom, I know. But I need you to be strong. Just a little longer. Can you do that for me? Diana took a shaky breath. I can try. I love you, Mom. I love you too, baby. Please be careful. Emma hung up and looked at Elena. We have to warn them, Emma said. Kyle wants them to come. He's planned this. Elena finally got through to Marcus. Marcus, it's a trap. He wanted you to find him. He's been planning this. Marcus's voice was calm on the other end. I know. Then why are you still going? Because Emma's mother is in that house, and I'm not leaving her alone with a monster parked outside. Elena looked at Emma. He knows, Elena said. They're going anyway. Emma closed her eyes. All she could do now was wait, and pray that the people who'd saved her could save themselves. The ride to Emma's neighborhood took 12 minutes. Marcus led the pack. Victor and Tommy flanked him. Rosa and Dante brought up the rear. 5 motorcycles cutting through the Arizona night. Marcus's mind was racing, but his hands were steady on the handlebars. He'd been in situations like this before. Not exactly like this, but close enough. He knew what desperation looked like. He knew what happened when predators got cornered. And he knew Kyle Mercer wasn't going to go quietly. Victor's voice crackled through the helmet comm. You think he's still there? He wants us to come, Marcus replied. Yeah, he's there. Could be a setup. I know. That's why we're not walking into it blind. They parked 2 blocks away. Engines off. Hidden in the shadow of a closed gas station. Marcus pulled out his phone and called Detective Ortiz. She answered on the second ring. Reyes, it's almost 11 at night. He's at Emma Turner's house right now, Maple and 4th. He sent her a photo 20 minutes ago. He's parked down the street. There was a pause. Then the sound of movement, keys jangling. I'm sending units right now, Ortiz said. Do not approach him. Do you hear me? Stay where you are and let us handle it. We're already here. Reyes, we're not going to touch him. But we're not leaving that girl's mother alone with a stalker parked outside her house either. He hung up before she could argue. The crew moved on foot, staying low, staying quiet. They approached from different angles. Rosa circled around through the back alley. Tommy and Victor took the side street. Dante stayed with the bikes, ready to move if needed. Marcus walked straight down Maple, hands in his pockets, looking like just another guy taking a late-night walk. And there it was, the silver SUV, parked under a broken streetlight, engine off, windows dark. Marcus could see the silhouette inside. A man, sitting perfectly still, watching the house. Marcus stopped on the corner. His heart was pounding, but his face stayed calm. Victor's voice came through the comm. I've got eyes on him from the east. He hasn't moved. Same from the west, Tommy added. Rosa's voice was quieter. I'm in position behind the alley. If he runs, I'll see it. Marcus took a breath. Nobody moves until the cops get here. We just watch. But then something changed. The car door opened. Kyle stepped out. Tall, calm. He stretched like he'd been sitting too long. Then he started walking toward Emma's house. Marcus's pulse spiked. He's moving. What do we do? Tommy asked. Marcus didn't hesitate. We stop him. He crossed the street boots, hitting the pavement with purpose. Kyle was halfway up the driveway when he heard the footsteps behind him. He turned. Marcus stood 15 feet away, hands loose at his sides, eyes locked on Kyle's. For a moment, neither of them spoke. Then Kyle smiled. It was the kind of smile that didn't reach his eyes. You must be Marcus, Kyle said. His voice was smooth, almost friendly. Emma's told me so much about you. She hasn't told you anything, because she doesn't know you, and you're not getting near that house. Kyle tilted his head. You think you're protecting her, but you're just delaying the inevitable. She's mine. She always has been. She just doesn't see it yet. Marcus's jaw tightened. She's 16 years old. And you're a predator. That's all you are. Kyle's smile faded. You don't know anything about me. I know enough. Colorado, New Mexico. You've done this before. And every time you got away with it. Marcus took a step forward. Not this time. Kyle's eyes went cold. You think you scare me? You think showing up on motorcycles and playing hero is going to stop what's already in motion? I don't need to scare you, Marcus said. I just need to keep you here until the police arrive. Kyle glanced past Marcus, saw Victor and Tommy emerging from the shadows on either side, saw Rosa stepping out from the alley behind him. He was surrounded, and for the first time, his confidence cracked. This is harassment, Kyle said, his voice rising. You're threatening me. I'll file a report. I'll sue every single one of you. Go ahead. Marcus's voice was ice. Tell the police that a group of concerned citizens stopped you from stalking a child. See how that plays. Sirens wailed in the distance. Kyle heard them, and his expression changed. The mask slipped. For just a moment, Emma saw what was underneath. Pure rage, Kyle's hands curled into fists. Marcus saw the calculation in his eyes, the desperation, the realization that he'd been outmaneuvered. And then Kyle did something none of them expected. He ran. Not toward the street. Toward the house. He sprinted up the driveway, heading for the front door, and started pounding on it. "Help someone help me! These men are attacking me!" Marcus moved fast, but Kyle was faster. He reached the door, kept pounding. Inside, a light came on. The door opened. Diana stood there, confused, terrified. "What's going on?" she demanded. "Who are you people?" Kyle's voice was frantic. "Mrs. Dawson, thank God. These men are trying to hurt me. Please, call the police. I'm a friend of Emma's. I've been trying to help her." Marcus grabbed Kyle's shoulder and pulled him back from the door. Kyle swung. His elbow caught Marcus across the jaw. Marcus staggered, but didn't let go. Victor and Tommy closed in. They pulled Kyle away from the house, pinning his arms. Diana screamed, "Let him go! What are you doing?" Marcus straightened up. Blood on his lip, voice steady. "Mrs. Dawson, my name is Marcus Reyes. Your daughter is safe with us. This man is Kyle Mercer. He's the one who's been stalking her for 3 weeks." Diana looked between them. Her face was white. I don't understand." "Check your phone," Marcus said. "Detective Ortiz left you a message an hour ago. She told you we were protecting Emma. She told you about him." Diana's hands were shaking as she pulled out her phone, scrolled through her missed calls. Her face changed. She looked at Kyle. "You called me today?" she whispered. "You said my daughter was in danger. You said these people were criminals." "I was trying to help," Kyle insisted. "They've manipulated her. They've—" "Shut up!" Diana's voice cracked. "Just shut up." 3 police cars pulled up. Lights flashing. Officers poured out. Detective Ortiz stepped out of the lead car. "Let him go," she ordered. Victor and Tommy released Kyle. He stumbled forward, trying to compose himself. "Detective, thank God," Kyle started. "These men attacked me. I want to press Kyle Mercer." Ortiz cut him off. "You're under arrest for stalking, harassment, and violation of an emergency restraining order." Kyle's face went white. "What restraining order? I haven't—" "The one filed 3 hours ago," Ortiz said coldly. "Based on evidence provided by Mr. Reyes and his associates, evidence you tried very hard to make disappear." She nodded to the officers. They moved in, cuffed his hands behind his back. "You can't do this," Kyle shouted. "I haven't done anything wrong. This is illegal. I'll have all your badges. I'll sue the entire department." Ortiz stepped closer to him. Her voice was low, controlled, dangerous. "You've been stalking a minor for 3 weeks. You sent threatening messages. You trespassed on private property. You created fake social media accounts to destroy her reputation, and you've been investigated for this exact behavior in 2 other states." She paused. "So yes, Mr. Mercer, I absolutely can do this." She turned to the officers. "Get him out of here." They dragged Kyle toward the car. He was still shouting, still twisting, still trying to play the victim. But nobody was listening anymore. As they pushed him into the back seat, Kyle turned his head. His eyes found Marcus, and he mouthed 2 words. "Not over." The police car pulled away. Marcus watched until it disappeared around the corner. Then he turned to Diana. She was crying, trembling. "I'm sorry," she whispered. "I'm so sorry. I didn't believe her. I thought she was exaggerating. I thought—" "You thought what any mother would think," Marcus said gently. "But she was telling the truth. And now she's safe." Diana wiped her eyes. Can I see her? Please. I need to see my daughter. Of course, Marcus said. I'll take you to her right now. But as they walked toward his truck, Marcus couldn't shake the feeling that Kyle Mercer's words weren't just an empty threat. Not over. Men like Kyle didn't give up that easily. They planned. They waited. They found new ways to hurt the people who'd stopped them. This wasn't over. Not yet. And somewhere in the back of that police car, Kyle Mercer was already thinking about his next move. When they arrived back at the bar, Emma was standing at the window. She'd been watching the road for over an hour, waiting, praying, trying not to think about all the ways this night could end. The moment she saw her mother step out of Marcus's truck, she ran. They met in the middle of the parking lot. Diana caught her daughter in her arms and held on like she was afraid Emma would disappear if she let go. "I'm sorry," Diana sobbed. "I'm so sorry. I should have believed you. I should have listened." "It's okay, Mom." Emma's voice was muffled against her mother's shoulder. "It's okay." "It's not okay. You came to me for help, and I told you that you were overreacting. My own daughter. I failed you." Emma pulled back and looked at her mother's face, tears streaking down her cheeks, eyes red and swollen, the weight of guilt written in every line. "You didn't fail me," Emma said quietly. "You just didn't understand. Nobody did. That's how people like him get away with it." Diana wiped her eyes. "The detective told me what he did. The messages, the photos, standing outside your window." Her voice broke. "He was watching you sleep, Emma. He was watching my baby sleep." "I know. How did I not see it? How did I not?" "Because he didn't want you to see it. That's what he does. He makes everyone think the victim is crazy. He isolates them. He turns their own families against them." Emma took her mother's hands. "But you're here now. That's what matters." Diana looked past Emma to the bikers standing near the garage. Marcus, Elena, Victor, Rosa, Dante, Tommy. Strangers who had done what she couldn't. "Thank you," Diana said, her voice cracking. "Thank you for protecting her when I couldn't." Marcus nodded once. "She did most of the protecting herself. We just made sure she didn't have to do it alone." That night, Emma slept. Really slept. For the first time in weeks. She dreamed of nothing. No shadows, no footsteps, no face in the window. Just darkness. Peaceful, empty darkness. When she woke up, the sun was streaming through the window, and her mother was sitting beside her, holding her hand. "Hey, sleepyhead?" Emma smiled. It felt strange on her face, like a muscle she'd forgotten how to use. "What time is it?" "Almost noon. You needed the rest." Emma sat up slowly. Her body ached. Her palms were still tender where the gravel had torn them. But something was different. The weight on her chest was lighter. "Is he still in jail?" Diana's expression flickered. "Detective Ortiz called this morning. There's a bail hearing tomorrow." The weight came crashing back. "A bail hearing he could get out. She said it's standard procedure. But she's fighting to keep him locked up. She said the evidence is strong." "Evidence was strong in Colorado too, and New Mexico." He still walked away. Diana squeezed her hand. "This is different. You're different. You didn't give up." Emma wanted to believe her. She wanted to believe that this time the system would work, that justice would actually mean something. But 3 weeks of terror had taught her not to believe in anything anymore. The bail hearing was scheduled for 2 o'clock the next afternoon. Emma insisted on going. Marcus tried to talk her out of it. "You don't have to see him again. Let the lawyers handle it." "I need to be there," Emma said. "I need to see him in handcuffs. I need to know he can't hurt me anymore." Marcus studied her face for a long moment. Then he nodded. "All right. Then we go together." They arrived at the courthouse early. Emma, Diana, Marcus, Elena, and Rosa. A small army of people who refused to let her face this alone. Detective Ortiz met them in the hallway. "The DA is confident," she said. "We've got a strong case. The judge should deny bail." "Should," Emma caught the word. Ortiz's expression tightened. "His lawyer is good, expensive. He's going to argue that Kyle has no prior convictions, strong ties to the community, and poses no flight risk." "He's a stalker," Emma said. "He followed me across the city. He took photos of me while I was sleeping. How is that not a flight risk?" "I know. But the law requires proof of danger, and his lawyer will argue that everything he did was legal. Watching someone isn't illegal. Taking photos in public isn't illegal. The messages were disturbing, but not explicitly threatening." Emma felt sick. "So he could get out?" "It's possible. But I'm going to do everything I can to make sure that doesn't happen." The courtroom was small and cold. Emma sat in the front row with her mother on one side and Elena on the other. Marcus and the others sat directly behind them. A wall of protection. Kyle was brought in through a side door. Orange jumpsuit. Hands cuffed in front of him. Hair slightly messy. Eyes scanning the room. When he saw Emma, he smiled. That same smile. The one that didn't reach his eyes. The one that said he knew something she didn't. Emma's stomach turned, but she didn't look away. She wouldn't give him that power. The judge entered. Everyone stood. Judge Patricia Santos, mid-60s, gray hair pulled back. Reading glasses perched on her nose. She'd seen 1,000 cases like this. Maybe more. "This is a bail hearing for Kyle Mercer," she announced, "charged with stalking, harassment, and violation of an emergency restraining order. Counsel, make your arguments." The prosecutor went first. A young woman named Lisa Chen. She laid out the evidence methodically. The messages, the photos, the previous investigations in other states, the blog post from his first victim. "Your Honor, Mr. Mercer is a demonstrated threat to the victim. He has a documented pattern of stalking behavior that escalates over time. He evaded law enforcement by clearing out his motel room when he learned we were investigating. He has the resources and the motivation to flee. We request that he be held without bail." Kyle's lawyer stood up. Tall, silver hair, expensive suit. The kind of lawyer who charged more per hour than Emma's mother made in a week. "Your Honor, my client has no prior convictions. The allegations against him are based largely on circumstantial evidence and the testimony of individuals with questionable credibility." He glanced at Marcus and the others. "Mr. Mercer is a respected software consultant with strong ties to his community in Sacramento. He poses no flight risk, and these charges are the result of a young woman's overactive imagination and the interference of a motorcycle gang with their own agenda." Emma's hands curled into fists. Diana grabbed her arm. "Don't," she whispered. "Don't let him get to you." Judge Santos looked at the file, then at Kyle. "Mr. Mercer, do you have anything to say?" Kyle stood slowly. When he spoke, his voice was calm, measured, almost sympathetic. "Your Honor, I understand how this looks, but I've been falsely accused. I never meant to frighten anyone. I was simply trying to reach out to someone I thought needed help." He paused, letting his words sink in. "Emma Dawson is a troubled young woman. I noticed her struggling, and I wanted to offer support. If my methods were unconventional, I apologize. But I'm not a danger. I'm not a predator. I'm just a person who's been terribly misunderstood." Emma couldn't take it anymore. She stood up. "That's a lie." The courtroom went silent. Judge Santos looked at her. "Young lady, you're not permitted to—" "He's lying." Emma's voice was shaking, but she couldn't stop. "He followed me for 3 weeks. He sent me photos of myself that I didn't know existed. He stood outside my bedroom window in the middle of the night. He manipulated my mother. He created fake social media accounts to destroy my reputation. And now he's standing here acting like he was just trying to help." Her voice cracked, but she kept going. "He did this to other girls, in Colorado, in New Mexico, and they dropped the cases because he made them feel crazy, because he convinced everyone that they were overreacting. But I'm not overreacting. I'm not crazy. He's dangerous. And if you let him out, he'll do this again. Maybe to me. Maybe to someone else. But he will do it again." The courtroom was dead silent. Judge Santos studied Emma for a long moment. "Sit down, please," she said, not unkindly. Emma sat. Her heart was pounding. Her hands were trembling. Diana took her hand and held it tight. "You did good," Elena whispered. "You did so good." The judge reviewed the file again, flipped through pages, removed her glasses, put them back on. Then she looked at Kyle. "Mr. Mercer, I've reviewed the evidence. I've listened to your statement, and I've heard this young woman's testimony." Kyle's lawyer started to object. "Your Honor, the victim's emotional outburst is exactly the kind of response I'd expect from someone who's been terrorized for 3 weeks," Judge Santos interrupted. "I find Miss Dawson far more credible than your client." Kyle's smile faded. "Bail is denied," Judge Santos said firmly. "The defendant will remain in custody until trial. And Mr. Mercer," she leaned forward, "if you're found guilty, I will personally ensure you receive the maximum sentence allowable by law." She banged the gavel. Court adjourned. The courtroom erupted into quiet movement. Kyle's lawyer was already arguing, but the judge was leaving. Officers moved to escort Kyle out. Emma watched him go. As they led him past her row, Kyle stopped, turned his head, looked right at her. "This isn't over," he said quietly, just loud enough for her to hear. Marcus stood up immediately, stepping between them. "Keep moving," Marcus said. His voice was steel. The officer pulled Kyle forward, but he was still staring back at Emma. His eyes cold, empty, promising something she couldn't name. And then he was gone. Outside the courthouse, Emma stood on the steps, breathing hard. Diana hugged her. "You were so brave in there." But Emma didn't feel brave. She felt exhausted, hollow. "He said it's not over," she whispered. Marcus stepped forward. "He's trying to scare you. That's all he has left. Words." "But what if he's going to trial?" Marcus interrupted gently. "And he's going to lose." "The evidence is overwhelming. The judge saw right through him. You did that, Emma. You stood up and told the truth, and it mattered." Emma looked at him, tears streaming down her face. "I was so scared." "I know," Marcus said. "But you did it anyway. That's what courage is." Detective Ortiz approached them. "You did well in there," she said to Emma. "That took guts." "Will he really stay locked up?" Emma asked. "Until trial. And with the evidence we have, he's looking at serious time. Stalking, harassment, intimidation of a minor." Multiple counts across state lines. He won't walk away from this. Emma exhaled slowly. Good. Ortiz handed her a card. If you need anything, therapy referrals, legal support, someone to talk to. You call me okay? Emma took the card. Her hands were still shaking. Thank you. The trial was scheduled for 4 months later. 4 months of waiting. 4 months of preparing. 4 months of trying to put her life back together while the man who'd destroyed it sat in a cell. Emma went back to school. It wasn't easy. The fake social media posts had done damage. Some of her classmates believed them. Some of them whispered behind her back. Some of them avoided her entirely. But some of them didn't. Her friend Maya found her on the first day back. Wrapped her in a hug so tight Emma could barely breathe. I'm sorry I didn't know what was happening, Maya said. I'm sorry I wasn't there. You're here now, Emma said. That's what matters. She started therapy. Once a week at first. Then twice. Talking about things she'd never talked about before. The fear, the helplessness. The way she'd started to believe she was going crazy because everyone kept telling her she was overreacting. You weren't crazy, her therapist said. You were gaslit. There's a difference. Emma learned that word. Gaslit. Learned what it meant. Learned how predators like Kyle used it to control their victims. She learned a lot of things in those 4 months. She learned that she was stronger than she thought. She learned that asking for help wasn't weakness. She learned that the right people would believe her even when the wrong people didn't. And she learned that justice was possible, even when it felt impossible. The trial began on a Tuesday morning in March. Emma arrived with her mother, Marcus Elena, and the rest of the Desert Wolves. Detective Ortiz was there too. So was Lisa Chen, the prosecutor. The courtroom was bigger this time, more formal, more intimidating. Kyle sat at the defense table in a suit and tie, his expensive lawyer beside him. He looked different than he had at the bail hearing, cleaner, more polished, like he was trying to look like the respectable professional he claimed to be. But Emma saw through it. She'd always seen through it. The trial lasted 3 days. The prosecution presented their case methodically. The messages, the photos, the surveillance footage, the testimony from the bikers, the blog post from the Colorado victim. And then something unexpected happened. A woman walked into the courtroom on the second day. She was in her early 30s. Dark hair, tired eyes, hands clutched together in her lap. Lisa Chen called her to the stand. Please state your name for the record. Jennifer Walsh. And how do you know the defendant? Jennifer looked at Kyle. Her voice trembled. He stalked me 3 years ago in Colorado. The courtroom went quiet. I dropped the case, Jennifer continued. I was too scared. He'd convinced everyone I was crazy. My friends, my family, even my therapist. I thought I was losing my mind. Tears streamed down her face. I moved to another state just to escape him. I've been running for 3 years, and then I saw the news about Emma and I knew I couldn't let him do this to someone else. She looked at Emma. I'm sorry I wasn't brave enough before. I'm sorry I let him get away with it. Emma felt something shift in her chest. She stood up and walked to where Jennifer was sitting. You're brave now, Emma said quietly. That's what matters. Kyle's lawyer tried to discredit Jennifer, tried to make her look unstable, tried to paint her as a bitter woman with a vendetta, but the jury saw through it. They saw 2 women, different ages, different states, different lives, both telling the same story, both pointing at the same man. On the 3rd day, Emma took the stand. Lisa Chen walked her through everything. The first message, The silver SUV. The figure outside her window. The photo of her sleeping. The fake social media accounts. The night she ran into the Desert Wolves parking lot with gravel tearing her palms and terror in her eyes. Emma answered every question calmly, clearly, without tears. She'd cried enough. Now it was time to be strong. Kyle's lawyer cross-examined her, tried to shake her story, tried to make her contradict herself. Isn't it true that you never actually saw my client take any of those photos? No, but he sent them to me, from his phone. How do you know it was his phone? Because the police traced the messages. The digital forensics prove it came from a device registered to Kyle Mercer. Isn't it possible someone else was using his device? Emma looked at him, looked at Kyle, then back at the lawyer. Is that really the best you can do? A few people in the gallery laughed. Kyle's lawyer flushed red. No further questions. When Emma stepped down from the stand, Marcus gave her a small nod. That was all she needed. The jury deliberated for 4 hours. Emma waited in the hallway with her mother and the others, pacing, checking her phone, trying not to think about what would happen if they came back with the wrong verdict. What if they don't believe me? She asked. They believe you, Elena said. Everyone in that courtroom believes you. But what if— Stop! Marcus put a hand on her shoulder. You did everything right. You told the truth. You showed them who he really is. Now it's up to them. The door opened. Detective Ortiz appeared. They're back. Emma's heart stopped. They filed back into the courtroom. Emma sat between her mother and Elena, Marcus and the others behind her. Kyle stood at the defense table, his lawyer beside him. The jury foreman stood. Has the jury reached a verdict? We have your honor. On the charge of stalking in the first degree, how do you find guilty? Emma's breath caught. On the charge of harassment in the first degree, how do you find guilty? On the charge of intimidation of a minor, how do you find guilty? On the charge of violation of a restraining order, how do you find guilty? Guilty, 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 guilty. The word echoed through the courtroom like a bell. Emma burst into tears. Diana grabbed her and held her close. Elena put a hand on her back. Marcus leaned forward and said quietly, It's over. You won. Kyle stood motionless at the defense table. His lawyer was already whispering about appeals, about procedural errors, about anything that might save him. But Kyle wasn't listening. He was looking at Emma. And for the first time since this nightmare began, she saw something in his eyes she'd never seen before. Fear. Judge Santos set the sentencing hearing for 2 weeks later. Kyle Mercer was sentenced to 9 years in prison. 9 years for stalking. 9 years for harassment. 9 years for terrorizing a 16-year-old girl who'd done nothing wrong except exist in the wrong place at the wrong time. When the sentence was read, Emma didn't cry. She just sat there breathing, feeling the weight finally lift from her chest. 9 years. He couldn't hurt her for 9 years. By the time he got out, she'd be 25. She'd be a different person. She'd have a life he couldn't touch. As the officers led Kyle away for the last time, he didn't look at her. He kept his eyes straight ahead. And Emma realized something. He wasn't a monster anymore. He was just a man in handcuffs walking toward a cell he'd spend the next decade in. She'd won. She'd actually won. Outside the courthouse, the sun was shining. Emma stood on the steps, surrounded by the people who'd saved her life. Her mother, Marcus, Elena, Victor, Rosa, Dante, Tommy, strangers who'd become family. What happens now? She asked. Marcus smiled. A real smile. The first one she'd ever seen from him. "Now you live," he said. "That's the whole point. You survived. You fought back. Now you get to live." Emma looked at her mother, at the bikers, at the courthouse behind her. For the first time in months, she felt something she'd almost forgotten existed. Hope. Real hope. The kind that doesn't come with conditions or fears or maybes. Just hope. Pure and simple and true. She took a deep breath of Arizona air, and she smiled. 6 months later, Emma pulled into the gravel parking lot of the Desert Wolves' bar. The motorcycles were lined up like they'd always been. The same smell of oil and dust hung in the air. The same desert wind pulled at her hair as she stepped out of her mother's car. But Emma wasn't the same girl who'd stumbled into this lot 6 months ago, bleeding and terrified and begging for help. She was different now. Stronger. Marcus was standing near the garage door when she walked up. He looked the same. Gray in his beard. Steady eyes. Hands that had seen work and didn't apologize for it. "Didn't expect to see you again," he said. Emma held up a bakery box. "I owed you cookies." Marcus laughed. A real laugh, deep and warm. "You didn't owe us anything." "Yeah," Emma said. "I did." Inside, the others were scattered around the shop. Elena was working on an engine, her hands covered in grease. Victor sat in his usual corner, arms crossed, face unreadable, until he saw Emma, and something softened. Rosa was on the phone, but she hung up the moment Emma walked through the door. Dante was hunched over his laptop, and Tommy was arguing with him about something technical. They all stopped when they saw her. Elena dropped her wrench and crossed the room in 3 strides. "Look at you," Elena said, pulling her into a hug. "You look good. Really good." Emma smiled. "I feel better. Most days." "Most days is enough," Elena said softly. Victor walked over. His expression was still guarded, but there was warmth in his eyes. "How's school?" "Hard," Emma admitted. "But I'm keeping up. My grades are back to normal. I even joined the debate team." Dante grinned from his chair. "After what you did in that courtroom, I'm not surprised. You tore that lawyer apart." Emma laughed, but there was weight behind it. "I didn't feel like I was tearing anyone apart. I felt terrified." "That's the only time courage matters," Marcus said quietly. They sat together in the main room. Emma opened the bakery box and passed around cookies. For a while they just talked. About nothing. About everything. About the weather and the bikes, and a new member who'd joined the club last month. Normal things. It felt strange to Emma. Strange and wonderful. 6 months ago, she couldn't imagine having a normal conversation with anyone. She couldn't imagine feeling safe enough to sit in a room without checking the exits. She couldn't imagine laughing without wondering if someone was watching. But here she was, laughing, safe, alive. "Can I ask you something?" Rosa said after a while. Emma nodded. "How are you really doing?" Not the polished answer. The real one. Emma was quiet for a moment. She looked at her hands. The scars on her palms had faded, but she could still feel them sometimes. Ghost pains from a night she'd never forget. "I still check my phone too much," she admitted. "I still look over my shoulder when I walk down the street. I still wake up sometimes thinking I heard footsteps outside my window." She paused. "But it's getting quieter, like you said it would." She looked at Marcus. "The fear is still there, but it's smaller now. It doesn't control me anymore." Marcus nodded slowly. "That's all any of us can ask for." "My mom started therapy too," Emma added. She felt so guilty for not believing me at first. We've been working through it together. We're actually closer now than we've ever been. Elena smiled. That's good. That's really good. There was a comfortable silence. Then Tommy spoke up. So what's next for you, college career world domination? Emma laughed. I'm thinking pre-law, actually. Everyone looked at her. After everything that happened, I kept thinking about how the system failed me, how it failed the other girls before me. Jennifer Walsh had to live in fear for 3 years because nobody believed her, nobody helped her, and I got lucky. She looked around the room. I got you guys, but most people don't have that. Most people face this alone and they lose. She straightened her shoulders. I want to change that. I want to become a lawyer who actually fights for victims, someone who believes them, someone who knows all the tricks predators use to make their victims look crazy. Marcus studied her for a long moment. You'd be good at that, he said finally. You've got the fire. And the stubbornness, Victor added. That too, Marcus agreed. Emma grinned. I learned from the best. Before she left, Victor handed her something small, a keychain, a tiny silver motorcycle. So you remember, he said simply. You're never alone. Emma closed her hand around it. The metal was cool against her palm. I carry the first one everywhere, she said. The one you gave me outside the courthouse. Now you've got a matching set. Emma looked at all of them. These strangers who'd become her protectors, her advocates, her proof that good people still existed in a world that sometimes felt impossibly dark. I don't know how to thank you, she said quietly. I've tried to figure it out for 6 months. What do you say to people who saved your life? Marcus stepped forward. You don't have to say anything. You already did the hard part. You survived. You fought back. You stood up in that courtroom and told the truth when everyone expected you to crumble. He put a hand on her shoulder. That's everything, Emma. That's the whole point. Emma nodded, unable to speak. And if you ever need us again, Marcus continued. If the fear gets too loud, if something feels wrong, if you just need someone to listen. He looked at her with those steady eyes. You know where we are. I do, Emma whispered. She hugged each of them. Elena held on longest. Rosa whispered something about being proud of her. Dante made her promise to send him her college essays so he could proofread them. Tommy told her she was always welcome to learn to ride if she wanted. And then she walked back to her car. Diana was waiting in the passenger seat. She'd come along for the ride, but she'd stayed in the car to give Emma time with the people who'd saved her. How'd it go? Diana asked. Emma looked at the bar one more time, at the motorcycles lined up outside, at Marcus standing in the doorway watching her go. Good, Emma said. Really good. She started the car and pulled out of the lot. In the rearview mirror, the desert wolves watched her drive away, not with sadness, not with worry, with pride. The drive home was quiet. Emma kept one hand on the steering wheel and the other wrapped around the little silver motorcycle keychain. You okay? Diana asked after a while. Yeah, Emma smiled. I really am. I'm proud of you, you know, for going back, for facing all of it. I had to. I needed to close that chapter properly, to thank them, to show them that what they did mattered. Diana reached over and squeezed her daughter's hand. It mattered. You matter. Don't ever forget that. Emma didn't respond. She just squeezed back. 2 weeks later, Emma got a phone call. She didn't recognize the number, and for a split second, her heart seized. Old instincts, old fears, the kind that never fully went away. But she answered anyway. Emma Dawson, yes. This is Lisa Chen, from the DA's office. I prosecuted Kyle Mercer's case. Emma's breath caught. Is something wrong? Did something happen with the sentence? No, nothing like that. He's still in prison. He'll be there for a long time. Lisa paused. I'm calling because I have a favor to ask. A favor? There's a conference next month. Victim advocacy. Law enforcement training. I've been asked to speak about stalking cases and how the system can do better. Lisa's voice was careful. I was hoping you might consider speaking too. Emma was silent. I know it's a big ask, Lisa continued. You've been through so much. You don't owe anyone your story. But the way you testified in that courtroom, it changed things, Emma. It changed how the jury saw the case. It changed how I see these cases. And I think it could change how other people see them too. Emma stared at the wall of her bedroom, at the photos pinned above her desk, her friends, her mom. A picture someone had taken of her with the desert wolves on the day of the verdict. Can I think about it? Of course. Take all the time you need. Emma hung up and sat there for a long time. She thought about the 3 weeks of terror, the messages, the photos, the figure outside her window, the night she ran into that parking lot and fell to her knees in front of strangers. She thought about Jennifer Walsh, the woman from Colorado who'd finally found the courage to testify after 3 years of running, who'd looked at Emma in that courtroom and apologized for not being brave enough sooner. She thought about all the girls who were going through this right now, who were being told they were overreacting, who were being gaslit by their own families, who were facing monsters alone because nobody believed them. She picked up her phone and called Lisa back. I'll do it. You're sure? I'm sure. If my story can help even one person feel less alone, it's worth it. The conference was held in Phoenix. Emma stood backstage, her heart pounding so hard she could feel it in her throat. You don't have to do this, Diana said, standing beside her. Nobody will judge you if you change your mind. I know. Emma took a deep breath. But I want to. I need to. When she walked onto the stage, the auditorium was packed. Police officers, lawyers, social workers, victim advocates. Hundreds of people who dealt with cases like hers every single day. Emma adjusted the microphone. 6 months ago, I was a 16-year-old girl who ran into a parking lot and begged a group of strangers to save my life. The room went silent. I'd been stalked for 3 weeks. I'd received hundreds of messages from a man I'd never met. He knew where I went to school. He knew what I wore. He knew what time I went to bed. He stood outside my window at 2 a.m. and watched me sleep. And when I asked for help, everyone told me I was overreacting. Emma's voice was steady, strong. My mother thought I was being dramatic. My school counselor told me to document things. The police said there was nothing they could do until he made physical contact or explicit threats. Everyone kept waiting for something worse to happen before they'd believe me. She paused. I'm here to tell you that something worse did happen. He chased me through the streets. He cornered me outside my home. He called my mother and tried to turn her against me. He created fake social media accounts to destroy my reputation. He made me feel like I was going insane. She looked out at the audience. And I got lucky. I found people who believed me, a motorcycle club called the Desert Wolves. They didn't know me. They had no reason to help me. But when I fell at their feet and begged them to save me, they said 3 words that changed my life. Her voice cracked, but she kept going. Get behind me. She wiped her eyes. That's what I needed. Someone to stand between me and the monster. Someone to believe me when nobody else would. Someone to fight for me when I couldn't fight for myself anymore. She straightened her shoulders. Kyle Mercer is in prison now. He was sentenced to 9 years for stalking harassment and intimidation of a minor. But before me, he'd done this to at least 2 other women. In Colorado. In New Mexico. And both times the system failed them. Both times the cases were dropped because the victims stopped cooperating. Because he made them feel crazy. Because nobody believed them. Emma's voice hardened. The system doesn't fail because victims are weak. The system fails because we don't take stalking seriously until it's too late. We wait for physical contact. We wait for explicit threats. We wait for something worse to happen. And by the time something worse happens, sometimes the victim isn't around to testify anymore. She let that sink in. I'm asking you to do better. Believe victims when they come to you. Don't tell them they're overreacting. Don't tell them to document things and wait. Don't tell them there's nothing you can do. Because there's always something you can do. You can listen. You can believe. You can stand between them and the monster and say those 3 words. She took a breath. Get behind me. The auditorium was silent. Then from somewhere in the back, someone started clapping. It spread. Slowly at first. Then faster. Louder. Within seconds, the entire room was on their feet. Emma stood at the podium, tears streaming down her face, as hundreds of people applauded not just her words, but her survival. After the conference, a woman approached Emma. She was young, maybe 19 or 20, dark hair, nervous eyes. Can I talk to you? She asked quietly. Emma nodded. They stepped away from the crowd. I'm going through something, the woman said. Her voice was shaking. There's a guy. He won't leave me alone. He shows up everywhere I go. He sends me messages. Everyone thinks I'm being paranoid. Emma's heart clenched. What's your name? Alexis. Alexis, listen to me. Emma took her hands. You're not paranoid. You're not overreacting. You're not crazy. If your gut is telling you something is wrong, then something is wrong. Alexis's eyes filled with tears. Nobody believes me. I believe you. Emma squeezed her hands. And I'm going to give you some names. People who can help. People who will believe you. You don't have to face this alone. Emma pulled out her phone and texted Alexis the contact information for Detective Ortiz, for Lisa Chen, for a victim advocacy organization she'd connected with after the trial. Call them, Emma said. Today. Don't wait. Don't let anyone tell you that you're overreacting. Trust yourself. Alexis nodded, tears streaming down her face. Thank you, she whispered. Thank you for understanding. Emma hugged her. A stranger. Someone she'd never met before and might never see again. But in that moment she understood something important. This was why she'd survived. Not just for herself, but for every Alexis out there. Every girl being told she was crazy. Every woman being gaslit by a system that was designed to protect predators instead of victims. She'd survived so she could help them survive too. On the drive back to Tucson, Diana kept glancing at Emma. What you did up there, Diana said finally. That was incredible. It didn't feel incredible. It felt terrifying. That's how you know it mattered. Emma was quiet for a moment. I met a girl after the speech. Alexis. She's going through the same thing I went through. Same messages. Same feeling of being watched. Same people telling her she's overreacting. Diana's hands tightened on the steering wheel. What did you tell her? I told her I believed her. I gave her the names of people who could help. Emma stared out the window. I hope she calls them. I hope she doesn't wait like I did. She'll call, Diana said, because you showed her it was possible to survive. You showed her there's hope on the other side. Emma touched the silver motorcycle keychain in her pocket. I hope so. 3 months later, Emma got a text from an unknown number. Her heart didn't seize this time. She'd learned to trust herself again, to know the difference between real danger and old fears. She opened the message. "Hi, Emma. This is Alexis. You probably don't remember me. We met at the conference in Phoenix. I just wanted you to know I called those numbers. I reported him. The police actually listened this time. They took it seriously. He was arrested last week." Emma's breath caught. She kept reading. "I don't know if I would have had the courage to do it without meeting you. You made me believe that someone would actually help me. You made me believe I wasn't crazy. Thank you. Thank you for telling your story. Thank you for believing me when nobody else did. You saved my life." Emma stared at the message. Then she started crying. Not sad tears. Not scared tears. Grateful tears. She'd done it. She'd actually made a difference. Her survival hadn't been meaningless. Her pain hadn't been for nothing. She'd taken the worst thing that ever happened to her and turned it into something that could help others. That night, Emma sat on the roof of her house looking up at the stars. The same stars she'd stared at during those 3 weeks of terror. The same sky that had felt so dark and empty and hopeless. But it didn't feel that way anymore. It felt full. Full of possibility. Full of hope. Full of all the lives she might touch with her story. Her phone buzzed. A message from Marcus. "Heard about your speech. Proud of you, kid." Emma smiled. She typed back, "Couldn't have done it without you guys." Marcus's response came a moment later. "Yes, you could have. You just didn't have to." Emma put down her phone and looked at the desert stretching out before her. Somewhere out there. Kyle Mercer was sitting in a prison cell counting the days of a sentence he'd earned. Somewhere out there, Alexis was starting to rebuild her life, finally free from the shadow of a predator. Somewhere out there, another girl was being told she was overreacting, but maybe, just maybe, she'd find someone who believed her. And Emma was here. Alive. Whole. Not broken. Not defeated. Not a victim. A survivor. She'd been through fire and come out the other side. She'd faced a monster and watched him fall. She'd stood in a courtroom and told the truth when everyone expected her to crumble. And she'd won. Not just for herself, but for every girl who came before her and every girl who would come after. That was the thing about stories like this. They didn't end with the verdict. They didn't end with the sentence. They ended with what came next. With healing. With hope. With the choice to take the worst thing that ever happened to you and turn it into fuel for something better. Emma Dawson had been 16 years old when she ran into a parking lot and begged strangers to save her life. She was 17 now. Stronger. Braver. More certain of who she was and who she wanted to become. And she knew with absolute certainty that her story was just beginning. Because here's the truth about surviving. It's not about forgetting what happened. It's not about pretending the fear doesn't exist. It's not about being okay every single day. It's about waking up tomorrow. It's about taking one more step. It's about believing that you deserve to live even when the world makes you feel like you don't. Emma believed that now. She believed it with every fiber of her being. And if you're watching this, if you're going through something similar, if you feel like nobody believes you, like you're going crazy, like there's no way out, I need you to know something. You're not alone. You're not crazy. And somewhere out there, someone is ready to stand between you and the monster and say those 3 words. Get behind me. You just have to be brave enough to ask. Emma was brave enough. And so are you. That's not hope. That's not a wish. That's a fact. And facts don't change just because the world is dark. They shine right through it.